All right, let's dive into a framework that could completely flip how we value and even use energy. It's a concept called energy finality, and the name pretty much says it all. We're talking about moving from a system of guesswork to one of absolute, undeniable certainty. So let's set the stage, because this is a big one. You've got these incredibly powerful, energy-hungry AI data centers popping up everywhere. And then you have our power grid, which, let's be honest, is already stretched pretty thin. What happens when those two things meet? Well, it looks a lot like a collision course, and today we're going to unpack exactly why and a potential way to steer clear of the crash. At the heart of the problem is something you could call a visibility crisis. Basically, our entire power grid has a massive blind spot. We simply cannot prove when and where surplus, unused energy actually exists. And this isn't just some small data gap. It's a fundamental blindness that leads to incredible amounts of risk, waste, and huge missed opportunities. And this is where things get really weird. It's a huge paradox, right? On one hand, we are installing solar and wind at a record-breaking pace. We're generating more clean energy than ever before in history. But on the other hand, the very sectors that are supposed to be driving our future, we're talking AI, advanced computing, they're literally being told, sorry, no power for you. It makes no sense. So where is all that energy going? Or maybe the better question is, why can't we seem to use it? The consequences of this blindness are felt everywhere. Our grids get hammered by these uncoordinated power surges because there's just no certainty. We pour billions of dollars into these giant battery storage projects, but a lot of the time they just sit there idle because their state of readiness can't be verified in real time. This forces regulators to make these huge, high-stakes decisions based on models and estimates, basically best guesses, not hard facts. And the result? AI data centers are starved for power, while perfectly good, clean energy is just wasted. Okay, so how in the world do we fix this? Well, the solution begins with a pretty radical shift in thinking. Instead of trying to control the grid even more, the idea is to simply observe it with a reliable physical witness, something that can certify the reality of the assets that are actually connected to it. This is the first of two key layers in this energy finality system. So what is this witness? Well, it's a piece of tech called the Physical Evidence Interface, and it uses pretty simple hardware. Think RFID tags, like the security tags on clothes, to answer 5 really basic but crucial questions. Where was the asset? How long was it there? Was it actually ready to go? Was it moving or standing still? And was there anything physically getting in its way? It's all about creating that missing layer of ground truth. So, that's layer 1, the physical witness. It gives us the raw facts. But raw data by itself isn't all that useful until it's finalized. And that brings us to the second layer, the digital judge. This is the part of the process that takes all that raw observation and turns it into a settled, undeniable, and completely auditable fact. And the process itself is pretty straightforward. The system watches the normal grid data coming from meters and control systems. Then it integrates that physical evidence from the witness. After that, it applies a set of transparent, predefined rules and groups any surplus energy it finds into these verifiable time windows. And the final step? It issues something called an Energy Finalization Unit, or EFU. You can think of it like a digital birth certificate for that specific chunk of surplus energy. It's the final auditable record. Now, this next part is absolutely crucial. This system is passive. It's built on what's called a non-interference manifesto, meaning it only observes and records. It doesn't control hardware, it doesn't store or manage energy, and it for sure doesn't trade power or set prices. It's a read-only layer of truth, which is huge because it provides that rock-solid evidence without ever threatening the control of the utilities and grid operators. And once you have that foundation of trust, you can unlock its most powerful application, actually solving that collision course between AI and the grid. And you do it by decoupling the acts of computation from the stress it creates. This leads us to a really fascinating concept called dark compute. Picture an AI data center that acts as a clean sink. It's designed to only use energy that has already been finalized as surplus. This means its massive energy consumption never shows up as a destabilizing spike in demand on the main grid. The grid literally never even sees it. Okay, this is maybe the single most critical distinction in this entire framework. The system does not create energy tokens, which are basically risky IOUs for future power that can be manipulated. Instead, it generates work tokens. And a work token is completely different. It's proof of a digital job, like training an AI model that is already finished. It represents a past event, not a future demand. For regulators, this is everything, because it gives them certainty and it eliminates market risk. And this whole principle of undeniable proof, well, it extends way beyond AI. It creates a foundation of trust that can unlock investment in other critical industries that have been stuck for years. Let's take green hydrogen, for example. Producers are dying to claim they're making green hydrogen using surplus renewable energy. The problem is, without hard proof, those claims are constantly disputed, and they often end up in court. All that uncertainty freezes billions of dollars in potential investment. But with energy finality, those finalized records, the EFUs, become the gold standard of evidence. They anchor those claims in reality. And when there's nothing left to argue about, that capital can finally flow with confidence. It also empowers smaller players, like community microgrids. These local grids often generate way more solar power than they can use during peak hours, but they have no way to prove exactly how much value is being lost. And without that hard data, they can't make a compelling case to get funding for things like battery storage or other upgrades. By providing verifiable reporting on exactly how much energy is going to waste, this system gives them the hard evidence they need. It transforms their problem into a solid, data-driven funding case for building smarter, more resilient local energy systems. So the crucial point to take away from all this is simple. Energy finality isn't about building more power plants or more batteries. It's an information technology. It's about creating a new foundational layer of truth for our entire energy ecosystem. I think this quote from the source material just sums it up perfectly. It says that by doing this, surplus energy is no longer a source of waste or political friction, but a verified foundation for the future. Just think about that for a second. We're talking about transforming a problem, a source of waste and arguments, into a verified, bankable asset that can serve as the foundation for what's next. And that leaves us with a final, really powerful question to consider. From AI to green hydrogen to community power, just think about what becomes possible. What can we truly build when our energy reality is no longer a matter of debate, but an undeniable fact?